Okay, now we just starting the recording, so we'll have to review because I was told many times that you must record this year, and I didn't record the first 5 minutes. So, for a quick summary for all those who missed, we're discussing Mechiras Chometz. Mechiras Chometz is a kiyum of the mitzvah tashbisu. If I take all my chametz and put in a box and sell it to a guy, that will be a complete kiyum of tashbisu. However, our problem is that in our modern days we don't do that. What we do is a returnable sale. And the question is, does a returnable sale apply in order to get rid of the chiyuv of owning chametz? Which you pointed out, the chametz is unique in that it has an isser of owning chametz, not just eating chametz, but in fact, owning chametz in your rishus. Like we pointed out, if I have a self-storage and a guy fills his self-storage off with Cheerios, that would be fine. So we brought down the Tosefta. The Tosefta says that if you were taking a boat, like in current times, when one must take a boat where he has to go, see, I said the same jokes. So therefore, I got on the boat, and the Gemara says, so what should you do in order to make sure that you have food? So the Gemara says you could sell it to a guy, and then right after Pesach, you buy all your chametz back from the guy, and then I will have enough food that I won't starve to death on the boat. That would be a great option to get rid of chametz. So that would be our source, and that seems to be solving the problem. This is a great idea. This is exactly what we do. We take our chametz, we write it sell to the guy, and then right after this, we buy back a kiyum of Pesach. That's how we take care of the fundamental flaw number one. Now that we reviewed, there is a fundamental flaw number two. Ready? The fundamental flaw number two is known as the Bahag. Now, the Bahag was one of the Gedolim. He was a big shot. He was like a guy, you don't want to mess with the Bahag unless you like really have to. So the Bahag, he quotes this Tosefta and throws in 3 words. He throws in these words, Bilvad Shaloi Ya'arim, on condition that one does not do haram. Now, since it's always important to discuss words, again, we love words. The word Ya'arim is a fun word. It either means deceit, fiction, or to circumvent. There we go. That's a good word. Circumvent. We want to avoid the mitzvah of tashbisu. So Zak the Bahag, that's a great idea when you're on a boat and you're going to starve to death. So therefore, it's important that I need to survive. So then he says it's a great idea to sell your chametz. However, for example, take an example. I know a certain Rav who loves Reisman brownies. Now, I don't know you guys now in America, so you can get as many Reisman brownies as you want. However, in Eretz Yisrael, it's very hard to get Reisman brownies. So he quickly goes to the store before Purim and buys all the Reisman brownies that he could. And then he knows that Pesach is going to come and he's not going to be able to have his Reisman brownies. So he sells them to the guy. And then right after Pesach, he's going to buy it back. Now, as important as Reisman brownies are, and trust me, to this rabbi, Reisman brownies are very important. And anybody who comes back and wants to bring me Reisman brownies, we would be much appreciated. Now, but it's certainly not survival on a boat, right? We certainly will survive without the Reisman brownies. And especially if you're going to buy the brownies with intent and then turn around and sell them. That would certainly be an intent to a deceitful sale. I'm not planning on selling it to the guy by any stretch of the imagination. Do I plan on letting the guy have my brownies? First of all, he doesn't appreciate them. Number two, he probably wouldn't eat them the right way, which is whole in cups covered in milk. So I, of course, will buy back the Reisman brownies. So, of course, I will have no intent on selling it to him. So that would be a problem. One cannot sell their chametz with intent as simply to circumvent halacha. And that would be a problem, especially if you want to tell me, okay, so maybe it's not haramatic sale. Maybe, in fact, this is a real sale. Maybe it's a great sale. So what, and therefore I'm allowed to do it. The Ritva speaks out the page. Ritva says, what does it mean, sale that's not real? What does it mean a fake sale? What does it mean without intent? He says if you do it every year, if you have a one-time situation where you never know if the supermarkets are going to be open. For example, if there's a virus rampaging through the world, so you don't know if there's going to be food after Pesach, because who knows what will be. So then, of course, go buy food before Pesach and sell it. But simply what we do, which is because if you have your extensive whiskey collection and you don't understand that once you drink it entirely before Pesach, and everyone knows the Shabbos for Pesach is when you should be drinking all of your whiskey. So you don't want to drink all the whiskey because you have so many bottles. I don't know how many so many bottles. It's probably like at least 2. So you don't want to drink them all. So that would be a problem of harama according to the mitzvah to every year sell my chometz to the guy. So that's a problem because every year we sell our chometz to the guy. In fact, I just sold my chometz yesterday and I certainly had no problem. So the question is, why it's going on here? If the Bahag says that we're having a harama and the Ritva says that if you have a harama, it's not a good sale. So why are we selling our chometz? What in fact are we selling? Okay, did everyone understand the big problem? Everyone put one finger up if you got the problem. The problem is that we're dealing with harama. Harama is a problem because it circumvents the sale. We're avoiding halacha. That is not how we're going to live our lives. That is not a good approach. Okay, I feel like definitely some people got it. Thank you. Okay, a few more. Excellent. Okay, so let's discuss. So the what we do basically starts from the Beis Yosef. The Beis Yosef says that what does it mean, Bilvash Le'ar? Why does the Bahag have a problem? Because the Bahag seems to have his own problem, i.e., that he's going against the Tosefta. The Tosefta speaks out clearly that if you're on the boat, you could sell the chametz to the guy and buy it back. So clearly, the sale part has no actual halachic problems. So the Beis Yosef kind of goes on a limb. He says that obviously the Bahag can't be saying that this doesn't work because it does work. So the Bahag can't be saying it doesn't work, right? Everyone understand that? That's a very beautiful Litvish svar. The Bahag can't possibly say that it does work because the Sefta says it does work, right? You get it? Right? So therefore, you can't say it's no good because it works. I.e., the Gemara, the Sefta says it's fine. So now you come and tell me, but don't do it. But why not? Because it works. So the Bahag, so the Beis Yosef says, what is the Bahag's problem? He says, of course, the Bahag is not talking about a case where you actually sold it. If you sold it, that of course works. He says the Bahag is coming to avoid a very issue that very likely would come up. And that I believe Ari Lampert was bothered by this exact problem, which is that we're not really talking about a returnable sale. See, a returnable sale in English is, even though practically is what we're doing, we're buying something and then we're buying it back, which is, in fact, he's returning it to us. But what do I mean? I.A. Goldman? I mean that the Bahag is talking about as a case where you're on the boat and you need to go because you're going to starve. So the Bahag says that you could sell your chametz to the guy makes a kinyan, and then you could buy it back. So that means that you're not being over by your matzeh if you sold it to the guy. So how could the Bahag then turn around and say, by the way, you can't do it, it doesn't work? Because it does work. Yes, Lampert's the best. So back to our understanding. So therefore, Dr. Beis Yosef, the Bahag is talking about an issue called Matana Manasa Hachzir. Matana Manasa Hachzir is a returnable sale. That is where I sell it to you on the condition that you must sell it back. I.e., if you don't buy it back, then it was never yours to begin with. Now, that concept of matana or a kinyan, amanasa achsir, does create bias in halacha, right? For example, we know that the halacha is that a lulav has to be lochem. A lulav has to be yours. So what if I do a matana amanasa achsir on a lulav? That will work. Yes, excellent, no problem. That will be a kiyam of lochem for both lulav, and get this, it's going to blow your minds, and esrog, which also has a din lochem. Whoa! Right? That is a kiyum of lochem, even if you have matana achsir. So therefore, that's great. The Beis Yosef, the Bahag was worried because what's going to happen? I'm going to be worried that the guy is not going to give me back my rice and brownies. It's a pachad every year. What if he keeps the brownies? That would be disaster. So you know what I'll do? I'll do a matana achsir, and then the guy has to give it back, and that works in halacha. Comes along the Bahag, Zak the Bahag, no. For Mechiras Chometz, a matana achsir won't work. Chazal said that since I have the right to get it back in the future, that future bias that we know is built in is considered bias, and therefore you'll be over by your month. Even though normally matana achsir would be fine to create bias, but by Chometz is no good. But Zak the Beis Yosef, if you do a kidney gemura, if you do something great, no problem. That will be a full kiyum. but you can't make it a tanai. It can't be written in the shtar that the guy has to sell it back. That would be a problem. It would be a problem if you put it in the shtar that the guy has to give it back. So what do we do nowadays? What we do nowadays is we sell the guy large amounts of chametz. For example, next week they're going with the country of Israel sells their chametz to the mayor of Abu Ghush, Ibn Jabukar. Now Ibn Jabukar has all the chametz that belongs to the state of Israel. Now, last year, I don't know what this year's value will be because maybe it'll be higher, but last year the chametz that they sold them was $150 billion. Now, that's a lot of chametz. So therefore, what they do is they have Abu Bakr, the mayor of Abu Ghush, he puts down a down payment of 100 shekel. And then if he wants to keep it, he just has to pay the other $150 billion. So therefore, he just puts a down payment. If he decides to sell back afterwards, so then they refund him his 100 shekel. But it's a kini gemura, and if he decides to keep that, to keep the chametz of the state of Israel, all he has to do is come up with the money. You pay the money, and you keep all the chametz. In fact, every year or two, I hear a story of a new Rav who will go around on Purim with the guy and collect some chametz, a bag of pasta or a bag of, because the key is that we have to have das in order to have a matana gemura. Other people explain that that's the problem with the bag, that if you're going to buy it back, you have a problem with das. So therefore, and that's what the Shulchan Aruch brings down. Shulchan Aruch himself writes down, doesn't bring down our case of selling. He brings down our case, the Shulchan Aruch paskins halacha, that selling chametz to a guy is fine. It will be a kiyum of getting of tashbis. But he says, in order to make sure that you have matana gemur, in order to understand that you have full das, you should take a box and gloves and bring the box, fill it up with chametz, and then bring it to the guy's house. And then the guy will have the chametz. And that will be a great kiyum of Mechiras Chometz. So he says that if you're just keeping the chametz in your own house, so then it's not again. It's going to be a problem of das. You're not going to really have the idea of chazal. So anyway, that's how we get around the bahag. You can understand the bahag way the Beis Yosef explains, which is that he's worried about the matana manas hachzir, the kinyan manas hachzir. Okay. So the question is, how did, even though it's nice to just avoid the shul harama, what do we do with harama? Like what is harama? What would the technical problem be? And why is the Beis Yosef assuming that it's not, I repeat, not a problem? Good? Everyone understands? So we're going to move, and then we're going to move back to Mechiras Chometz to wrap it up. Okay. So harama is a unique situation, Allah. Veng, are you clapping? Oh, you have a question? No. Okay. I just wanted to talk. Okay. Back to my what is harama? Harama is when I use halacha as in halacha to avoid halacha. Is that nice? I use halacha as part of halacha to avoid halacha. Right? That's harama. Everyone got it? I'll give you an example. Ready? The halacha is that if I have a door, everyone know what a door is? Yeah, a door is like how you get in and out of rooms. So you have a door, and you have to have a mezuzah on the door. So let's say I don't want to pay for a mezuzah because sometimes mezuzah can be expensive. Like some money, mezuzah could be expensive. So one way to get around putting on a mezuzah is you don't make any doors. You simply make windows. You can make really big windows, and they won't be considered doors. So if I don't have any doors, I don't have to put a mezuzah. That's called harama. I use halacha, and I say, what is a door? A door needs a frame. So therefore, I don't have a frame, and therefore, I don't have to put a mezuzah. Right? Another example would be tzitzis. Right? Everyone knows that if you have a beggar with 4 corners, then you have to chiyuv to put on tzitzis. So harama says, let me take a knife and I'll round one of the corners, and then I don't have a chiyuv to put tzitzis. I use halacha to avoid halacha, to create halacha where I avoid halacha. So let's go to our situation. The mitzvah deraisa of our chiyuv matzah is to destroy chametz. We have a mitzvah to get rid of your chametz, tashbisu, to battle, to get rid of your chametz. What am I doing in our situation? I'm writing a shtar where I say all chametz in the marishos is sold to a guy. So now I have no chametz in marishos. If I have no chametz in marishos, I have no chametz that belongs to me. No, I got no chametz to destroy because I have no chametz. Right, Brill? You have no problem. You got no chametz. So now I cannot be mekayim the mitzvah tashbisu. Except, okay, I'll make a tanai in order to keep my 10 pieces of bread. So I have a symbolic kiyum of the mitzvah tashbisu when I burn my chametz on Erev Pesach. But other than that, I'm not getting rid of my chametz and my rishos because I have no chametz. which is great, right? Again, we're not talking. So the question is, why is this not a joke? Right? If the guy knows that I'm going to buy it back, and where does the das come from? And here's where it gets a little bit tricky, because the guy does know that we're getting it back, right? Everyone understand that if the guy knows that we're going to buy it back, does the guy have das to make a real kinyan? And the answer is that what they typically do is they give the guy a little bit of money, right? They'll give the guy $100, $200, $500, and therefore he will be willing to do whatever you want him to do in order for him to make his $500. So you have to make sure that the guy has das. So therefore, if the guy knows that you're going to buy it and buy it back, so maybe he doesn't have das to actually buy it. So what we do is we give a financial incentive of the guy to have whatever das we want. So maybe he'll tell me it's a problem with the kid. Maybe he'll tell me that he doesn't have das. So we'll tell him he has to have das in order to what we want. So then another question is maybe we don't have das. Right? If me and you know that 8 days later that we're going to buy it back from the guy. So what do I really have das to sell it? Do I really mean it? So he pointed out a few minutes ago that sometimes the Rav will walk around with the guy and buy it, and he'll pay you a few shekel, a few dollars, and to have a wheel. But in reality, what we're relying on to make the sale work is the same thing. We're taking the same mental attitude as the guy. You see, we want to do whatever kinyanim we have to do in order to avoid the mitzvah v'ayirav v'ayimatz. We want to avoid averos. So therefore, yes, if what we need to do is to create a kinyan, so then we also want the kinyan. We want also, just like the guy wants whatever he needs to do to get his $100. So do we have whatever kinyan we want to do in order to there's some comments. So therefore, of course, even though we're going to buy it back, we of course want the kinyan to happen. And if you tell any Jew in the world, you say, by the way, unfortunately, there's no situation we can't sell anything to a guy this year, so you have to get rid of your chametz. There's not one Jew in the world who won't say, throw out their chametz. And if he doesn't, especially when you tell me that it's an easy way and he can just buy it back 8 days later, as long as he has the then have the real sale. So nobody's going to say, I don't want to mekayim the kid. So the question, this is what happened in the world, right? So the Mechiras Chometz began in the times of Shulchan Aruch, and the way he did it, the way they did the Mechiras Chometz back then was that he put all his chametz into a bag, and he put all his chametz into a bag, and then he brought that bag to the guy, and therefore the guy would keep the chametz. That's not what we do nowadays, right? What we do nowadays is we put a room or a closet or a floor, depending on how big your house is, 5 down is. So you put all your chametz on the 3rd floor, the 4th floor, the 5th floor, whatever, and then you don't have a problem. Or even LA, the guest house and the house in the back, or it's called the boathouse, the pool house. I forgot what it's called in LA. The house behind the house. Everybody in LA has like 2 or 3 houses. There's like whatever. When you get to LA, when the boats are running again. So nowadays we don't do that, right? What we do is we give away so what the Rav usually will do is we'll include a certain text in the shtar that we rent that area to the guy in order to make it a big, one of the kinyanim that we do with the guy is kinyan chater. So what we'll do is we will sell the guy that chater. But the question is, what changed with in regard to Mechiras Chometz? Why in the times of Yishayim did they do it only as a decoy, or did they remove the chametz from the house? And nowadays, it became universally appropriate, and that every Jew sells the chametz. And the really began from source 9 on the Maram Kereshi that everyone went through. In source 9 on the Maram Kereshi, we brought down the Bach. The Bach brings down that in the early 1700s, the parnasa of the Jews switched. See, in the olden days, Jews used to make money farming. They used to be blacksmiths, silversmiths. And then, after Poland opened up its border, for those of you who are on the Eastern Europe trip, we discussed a little bit, and a lot of the parnasa of the Jews switched into becoming innkeepers. It was a very popular job back then. And what happens was, it used to be that chametz was something that you ate. People didn't have a lot of money. You didn't have a lot of chametz in your house. So when you didn't have a lot of chametz, it was very easy to do it in the best way possible. You pack the chametz in the box and you bring it to the guy. So therefore, if that's all you have to do, then to not get the chametz out of your rishus was a gnai. Why you need the chametz in your house? What is it, some type of mitzvah to keep the chametz in your house? Yet as we entered into the later years, chametz no longer became something that we ate. Chametz no longer became something that we drink. Chametz became a business. Chametz became something that the Jews used to make parnasa. It was, they had the inn, and in the inn they would sell beer. And beer takes, some of you may know, some of you may not know, but beer is something that takes time in order for it to make. And it became a problem. First of all, you can't sell the guy the beer because there's a very technical problem. In the olden days, I don't know about nowadays, I'm sure it's very different, but in the olden days, if you sold guy a beer and then you went to go pick it up again, all the beer was gone. Nobody knew what happened. It just disappeared. It was like a crazy story, Rabbi. I know you brought me 9 bottles of beer, but it's all gone. Anyway, so therefore you couldn't really bring the beer to the beer because that wouldn't work. And then it would be impossible to get money out of them because they didn't have enough money to pay for all the beer that they drank, i.e., all the beer in the inn. So what they began, and the Jews couldn't destroy all the beer because then they had no more parnas, and therefore they became xera. Because we spoke out originally when we spoke out that one of the reasons why the Torah made it isser of Bal Rabbi Yimatzeh is called the Geder Shel Torah, meaning the Torah itself put together and don't have chametz in your rishus in order that you won't come to eat it. But now, what happened was when the chametz got bigger, the chametz got badder, and we lost that ability of chametz not in order to eat, because this wasn't chametz that was destroyed in order not to eat it. This was chametz that we're destroying, which would destroy your entire livelihood. This was chametz that if you destroyed would end your life, would put you out of business. You could starve. We discussed starving a lot during the show. So therefore, that was a problem when the idea of getting rid of your chametz no longer is functioning in the way that Torah functions. Right? The idea of getting rid of the chametz no longer is functioning in the Torah idea in order to prevent you from eating, but had a side effect of destroying your entire livelihood. So at that point, the Bach wrote a tshuva that says that the best way is to rent out the area in which you have it, which is what we do today. You write in the shtar that the area in which you keep your chametz belongs to the guy. And that's why if you have a room or we either we lock the room or you put up a blanket on top of it, because it shouldn't be something that's in yours, because we're actually renting the guy the area. And therefore, in such an area, when there's a need, that's when Chazal said, okay, let's do a harama. Because now, getting rid of the chametz would be a problem of destroying the entire parnasa for months and days and months to come. You see, for example, if you didn't have a mezuzah, that would be a perfect opportunity for you to build a window, right? If you get stuck on a desert island and you need to build a tree house, build a window, which is smaller than a door, right? If you don't have tzitzis, round one of the corners. That's when haram becomes appropriate. When halacha is not applicable or cannot function in the way that it's supposed to do. Obviously, if you can get a mezuzah, so then build a mezuzah. Don't build a window in order to avoid mezuzah. But in a situation where it can't function anymore, and the Chazal decide to put that inside, then of course, as long as the kini is a kini gemura, as long as you have smichus das, as long as it's not a matana manas achsir, it is totally fine. One should, in fact, sell chametz to a guy in order to make sure that one should not chas v'shalom be over on bal yeroeh bal yemazach. Okay, so now we'll unmute all, and we will stop the recording.